We are your area news team.
Mr. Neal Murphy has published a new book entitled Serendipity, which is a collection of interesting and varied short stories. Here he tells one such story about the Roswell of Texas, Aurora, Texas, at yesterday's Shelby County Historical Society meeting.
About one, I think they're $20. Let's see, where is the one? Oh, this first one here. I had never heard this story before. Some of you that are older than I am may have heard it before. It's called the Texas UFO. Like I said, I had never heard about it. So I'm going to read this little story because I think it's very interesting. Unidentified flying objects have been around for a long time now. The most notorious of these being the Roswell, New Mexico event. On July the 7th, 1947, a UFO crashed northwest of Roswell on a cattle ranch, scattering debris over a wide area. Several bodies of extraterrestrial beings were reportedly recovered and autopsied. The event was explained by the military as a weather balloon crash. There were no beings, and thus began the most notable cover-up in American history. The New Mexico event, however, was not the first of its kind. Some 50 years earlier, a UFO crashed in Aurora, Texas, but never received much notoriety. Around 6 a.m. on April the 17th, 1897, a cigar-shaped UFO crashed near the small town of Aurora, Texas. The UFO had been seen flying over Missouri and Arkansas earlier before it crashed. And we must remember that this event happened some 5 years before the Wright brothers' successful airplane flight at Kitty Hawk in North Carolina. There were a number of eyewitnesses to this UFO crash. In fact, one of them, Mr. S.E. Hayden, Haydon, wrote an article for the Dallas Morning News on April 19th, 1897. And so I'm going to read you what Mr. Hayden reported that he saw. Quote, about 6 o'clock this morning, the early risers of Aurora were astonished at the sudden appearance of the airship which had been sailing through the country. It was traveling due north and nearer the earth than ever before. Evidently, some of the machinery was out of order, for it was traveling at a speed of only 10 or 12 miles an hour and steadily settling toward the earth. It sailed directly over the public square, and when it reached the north part of town, collided with the tower of Judge Proctor's windmill and went to pieces in a terrific explosion, scattering debris over several acres of ground, wrecking the windmill and water tank and destroying Judge Proctor's flower garden. The pilot of the ship was supposed to have been the only one on board, and while his remains are badly disfigured, enough of the original has been picked up to show that he was not an inhabitant of this world. Mr. T.J. Wings, the United States Signal Service officer at this place and an authority on astronomy, gives it as his opinion that he was a native of the planet Mars. Papers found on his person, evidently the record of his travels, are written in some unknown hieroglyphics and cannot be deciphered. The ship was so badly damaged to form any conclusion as to its construction or its motive power. It was built of an unknown metal, resembling somewhat a mixture of aluminum and silver, and must have weighed several tons. The town is full of people today who are viewing the wreck and gathering samples of the strange metal from the debris. The pilot's funeral will take place at noon tomorrow. Unquote. Records indicate that the pilot was indeed buried in the Aurora Cemetery with Christian rites. Today, the cemetery contains a Texas Historical Commission marker mentioning this incident. Reportedly, wreckage from the crash site was dumped into the well located under the damaged windmill, while some ended up with his aid in his grave. A large stone was placed at the head of the grave to mark the spot. Adding to the mystery was the story of Mr. Brawley Oates, who purchased Judge Proctor's property around 1945. Oates cleared out the well in order to use it as a water source, but later developed an extremely severe case of arthritis, which he claimed to be the result of contaminated water from the wreckage that was dumped into the well. As a result, Oates sealed up the well with a concrete slab and placed an outbuilding atop the slab in 1957. The event was eventually forgotten for many years. In fact, there was developed a hoax theory. Now, the hoax theory is primarily based on historical research performed by Mrs. Barbara Bremer, a former mayor of Aurora, located 36 miles northwest of Fort Worth. In the months prior to the alleged crash, Aurora had been beset by a series of tragic incidents. First, the local cotton crop was destroyed by a boll weevil infestation. Second, a fire on the town's west side claimed several buildings and lives. Third, a spotted fever epidemic hit the town, nearly wiping out the remaining citizens and placing the town in quarantine. Finally, a planned railroad got within 27 miles of Aurora, but never made it into town. So the theory was that Mr. Hayden was known in the town to be a bit of a jokester, and her conclusion is that Hayden's article was a last-ditch attempt to keep Aurora alive. It was not until 1998 that the event was resurrected by Dallas TV station KDFW, who aired a lengthy report about the Aurora incident. The investigation revealed that something had crashed in 1897, but could find no evidence of extraterrestrial life or technology. In 2005, UFO Files aired an episode related to this incident titled Texas Roswell. They uncovered two new eyewitnesses to the crash. Mary Evans, who was 15 at the time, told that her parents went to the crash site and the discovery of the alien body. They refused to allow her to go with them. Charlie Stevens, who was 10, told how he saw the airship trailing smoke as it headed north toward Aurora. He wanted to go see what had happened, but his father made him finish his chores. Can you beat that? He later went to the site and saw the wreckage from the crash. In 2008, UFO Hunters aired another documentary regarding the Aurora incident titled First Contact. This film featured one notable change from the UFO Files story. Tim Oates, nephew of Brawley Oates, and the now owner of the property with the sealed well where the UFO wreckage was reportedly buried, allowed the investigators to unseal the well in order to examine it for possible debris. Water was taken from the well and tested normal, except for large amounts of aluminum present. The well had no significant contents, as any large pieces of metal had been removed from the well by a past owner of the property. Further, the remains of a windmill base were found near the well site, as earlier reported by witnesses. In addition, the Aurora Cemetery was again examined. Although the Cemetery Association refused exhumation of the body, an unmarked grave was found in the area near other 1890s graves. However, the condition of the grave was so badly deteriorated that ground radar could not conclusively prove what type of remains existed. Although the Aurora UFO event was never commercialized, as was the Roswell event, there still remains questions as to exactly what happened nearly 116 years ago in this tiny town. Today, in a town of 335 people, about half believe that a real UFO crashed and an alien was buried there, and half believe the event was one huge hoax. So the question is, what do you believe? So I thought that was a very interesting article to know that we had a UFO apparently crashed in Texas.
CBC-radio.com, keeping you connected wherever you go.